Welcome one and all to the first Cine Park Rangers Disney IP study. I'm John.
And I'm Olivia, and in a future video, we'll give you more of an idea of who we are, why we started this channel, and what we're going to do for future content.
But today, our goal really is to just show you what we're all about.
In this video, we're going to look at the origins and development of the Haunted Mansion ride in both Walt Disney World and Disneyland.
We're going to take a comprehensive look at the ride's mechanics and how it works. We're going to look at some key Imagineers that got the ride off the ground, and we're also going to take a look at different iterations of the ride across the globe in other Disney parks.
We'll look at the 2003 film starring Eddie Murphy, examine the production, its profitability, and its overall reception.
And we would be remiss if we didn't give you our thoughts about the new 2023 film that comes out this weekend.
So get ready, foolish mortals, as we get ready to step into the Haunted Mansion.
So let's start at the beginning. If you've arrived at this video, chances are you've been on the Haunted Mansion ride before, or you at least know what it is. But did you know that originally this ride wasn't supposed to be a ride at all? Allow me to explain. In the early days, Walt Disney handpicked his Imagineers, and for the mansion, one of these Imagineers was Harper Goff. So Goff was a mastermind art director whose credits include Casablanca and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which was groundbreaking for Disney at the time. And in the hustle and bustle of early Disney days, Goff crafted a black and white sketch of a crooked street leading away from Main Street, USA, with a rundown manor looming high on a hill over Main Street. And it would be this sketch which would be the driving force for our next Imagineer.
Before Disneyland opened in 1955, Walt tapped Anderson to create a story around the aforementioned Harper Goff sketch. Anderson would then research New Orleans and antebellum manners to craft his own spooky version of an old mansion. As the haunted house walkthrough developed, Walt would end up venturing to Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California. The house had stairs leading to nowhere, elevators, and other strange misgivings not typically attributed to homes like this one. Anderson would use the Winchester Mystery House as inspiration for a variety of stories, including a tale about a mansion home to a doomed family, a story about a sea captain who kills his bride and hangs himself, and a ghost wedding that features previous Disney haunts like the Lonesome Ghosts.
At this point, Imagineers Raleigh Crump and Yale Gracie would recreate many of Anderson's stories with spectral effects. The duo would create a scene where a ghostly sea captain appeared out of thin air, and then suddenly, a wretched bride would emerge from a brick wall and chase him around in circles. The pirate would then melt into a puddle as the bride vanishes. And when the team showed Walt, he was astounded by what they created. Yet he did not like the direction the project was headed in. This would ultimately put the project on hold for some time. Walt Disney would never see the attraction fully realized as he passed away on December 15, 1966 from lung cancer. In the years following Walt's death, the attraction would shift from a walkthrough to a ride using Omnimovers, the same ride system featured in Adventure Through Inner Space. The Disneyland version of the Haunted Mansion would ultimately end up opening on August 12, 1969, 3 years after Disney's death.
Initially, the attraction was met with disappointment from Imagineers and crowds alike. Imagineer Mark Davis said the ride had too many cooks getting it out of development and to the masses. However, today the ride is beloved by many. It's always a must whenever I go to the parks. In 1971, Disney World in Orlando opened Magic Kingdom, where the Haunted Mansion would be an opening day attraction. Funny enough, the Magic Kingdom version was developed simultaneously with the Disneyland version. It had a slightly larger show building, affording it to host several new scenes, and since Magic Kingdom didn't have New Orleans Square, it was placed in Liberty Square and given a Dutch Gothic revival style based on older northeastern mansions.
So, how does it work? As you enter the mansion, you're enveloped in a chilling atmosphere, complete with creaking doors, flickering candles, and haunting melodies. Boarding the iconic dune buggies, you then embark on a dark ride through spectral scenes, encountering ghostly apparitions, floating objects, and mysterious effects. The ride showcases impressive audio animatronics that bring the mansion's spectral residents to life, from singing busts to the ghost bride we mentioned earlier. The ghost host's eerie narration guides you through the supernatural tales, while the stretching room and graveyard scenes add to the spooktacular experience. So why dune buggies? And what is an omnimover?
The dune buggies were the premier option for getting guests through the Haunted Mansion while maximizing ride time, volume of guests, and maintaining an enjoyable experience. That said, the dune buggies are just a code word for the type of vehicle the ride utilizes: omnimover. An omnimover is a type of ride system utilized in multiple Disney ride attractions. It consists of a continuous chain of ride vehicles that move along a fixed path. The vehicles are typically designed to rotate or pivot, allowing guests to face different directions throughout the ride, which gives the ride a controlled and synchronized experience, ensuring that guests can view specific scenes or elements as they progress through the attraction. In this case, it allows you to be delightfully scared.
Now, you may be asking, just how does a room stretch? Well, allow me to explain. As you enter the stretching room at Disney's Haunted Mansion, you find yourself standing in an elevator that descends to a lower level, unbeknownst to you. The room's walls seem to stretch before your very eyes thanks to the cleverly designed stretching portraits. These portraits elongate as tension is applied, creating the illusion of an expanding space. Meanwhile, the ghostly narrator entertains you with a mix of humorous and eerie commentary, adding to the spooky atmosphere. After the pre-show ends, the room ascends back to its original position, allowing you to exit and continue your eerie journey to become that 1000th happy haunt.
It's at this juncture that the ride takes you through the rest of its iconic twists and turns, including the mirrored ballroom scene, whirling by Madame Leota's crystal ball, and picking up some hitchhiking ghosts at the end of the ride. So what other parks have a Haunted Mansion ride? Officially, the only other park to utilize the Haunted Mansion as we know it is Tokyo Disneyland. The ride opened on April 15, 1983, and while it's similar to the Disneyland version, it does differ slightly in names, simply using Haunted Mansion instead of the Haunted Mansion. Disneyland Paris has their own unique version of the ride called Phantom Manor. Unlike the other Haunted Mansion versions that generally focus on a lighthearted and humorous spooky atmosphere, Phantom Manor has a darker and more elaborate backstory. The attraction's storyline revolves around the Ravenswood family who lived in the manor and were plagued by a series of mysterious and tragic events. Before entering the main attraction, guests experience a pre-show where they meet the Phantom, who sets the stage for the haunting tale of the Ravenswood family and the cursed manor. The ride system is similar to the traditional dune buggy style used in the other Haunted Mansion attractions, but it has its own unique track layout and ride path. Phantom Manor incorporates more advanced audio animatronics and special effects compared to the earlier versions of the Haunted Mansion, enhancing the overall immersive experience. It received a major refurbishment recently that began in 2018 and lasted for over a year. The refurbishment aimed to enhance the attraction's special effects and storytelling, giving it a fresh and improved experience for its guests.
Hong Kong Disneyland also has its own unique version of the ride called Mystic Manor. It opened on May 17, 2013 and is situated in the Mystic Point area of the park. Similar to Phantom Manor, Mystic Manor features its own original storyline, characters, and ride system, making it a truly one-of-a-kind experience. The attraction revolves around Lord Henry Mystic, an eccentric and adventurous explorer, and his mischievous pet monkey, Albert. Lord Mystic collects mysterious and enchanted artifacts from all over the world, and guests are invited to tour his home, Mystic Manor, which serves as a museum of his adventures and collections. However, when Albert opens a magical music box known as the Music Dust, it brings all the artifacts to life, leading to a whimsical and magical adventure throughout the manor. The ride utilizes a trackless ride system, which is different from the traditional dune buggy style used in other Haunted Mansion attractions. The trackless system allows the ride vehicles to move freely and independently throughout the attraction, enhancing the sense of exploration and unpredictability. Think Rise of the Resistance or Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway for those of us in the US. Throughout the attraction, guests encounter a variety of enchanted artifacts that come to life due to the influence of the music dust. Each artifact has its own unique story and animation, adding to the charm and magic of the experience. This version of the Mansion ride is a genuinely cool addition. You can essentially think of this ride as an homage to a Disney classic made with Disney's more state-of-the-art ride system.
Let's continue our journey by examining the original Haunted Mansion film starring Eddie Murphy. Disney has been known for its rides and movies alike for decades, but when did they decide to start creating films based on their theme park rides? To answer this, we'll need to go back to the late 90s. In 1997, Disney released its first movie based on a park ride. What ride was it? I'll give you a hint.
Hollywood Tower Hotel. I'm sorry, we don't have any vacancies.
That's right. Disney's first adaptation of a park ride was none other than Tower of Terror. The film was a TV movie starring Kirsten Dunst and Steve Guttenberg. It aired on ABC on October 26, 1997 as a presentation of the wonderful world of Disney. After a TV film, Disney began to take some more risk by making Mission to Mars. It went to theaters on March 7, 2000 and was based on a ride called Flight to the Moon at Disney World and Rocket to the Moon at Disneyland before the name changed to Mission to Mars. It was a space mission simulation that took guests on a trip to outer space, and by 1993 both parks had closed the attraction. However, the movie based on the ride was released in 2000, starring Gary Sinise, Tim Robbins, and Don Cheadle. It was not received very well outside of its decent visuals.
On May 19, 2000, Dinosaur was released in theaters. This film was based on a ride originally called Countdown to Extinction, which was an opening day attraction at Disney's Animal Kingdom in 1998. The name of the ride changed to Dinosaur when the movie premiered in an effort to promote the film. I actually have fond memories of viewing this movie as a 5-year-old boy. However, after watching it recently with my 2-year-old, the film doesn't hold up as well as I had hoped. The ride is also nightmare-inducing, as I both love and hate large animatronics. Now in 2002, Disney released potentially one of the cringiest, most nightmare-inducing films in its entire history. If you're a Disney fan, you already know what I'm talking about.
Oh my word! You're Benny Bogswagon! The armpit fodder!
On July 26, 2002, Disney released The Country Bears, starring Haley Joel Osment as Barry Barrington, which also featured Queen Latifah, Elton John, Brian Setzer, and a wonderful performance from Christopher Walken using his armpit to serenade the audience with musical armpit farts. Let's just leave that one behind us and forget about it. I'm sure Disney would like to as well.
2003 is where things start to get interesting for the specific category of Disney film. Why, you ask? Well, allow me to introduce you to a good friend of mine.
I got a jar of dirt, I got a jar of dirt, and guess what's inside it?
That's right, on July 9th, 2003, Disney released Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. It was a summer blockbuster that grossed over $654 million at the worldwide box office. That's the equivalent of about $1.4 billion today. We have future video plans for Pirates, so I'll just leave it there. With a hit like that on their hands, Disney was clearly on to something. So what was next? Well, believe it or not, Disney had another movie on its slate for 2003, and I'll give you one guess as to what that movie was. Yeah, you guessed it. On November 26, 2003, Disney released The Haunted Mansion starring Eddie Murphy. Disney hired David Berenbaum to write the screenplay for the film. Berenbaum had also written a script for another film that had released in 2003 called Elf. One of these movies performed better than the other, and we aren't here to talk about the better one. The Haunted Mansion had a budget of about $90 million and a global box office revenue of roughly $156 million. After you factor in marketing expenses, the film did make money, but probably not as much as Disney would have liked. So what happened? In our opinion, the film ultimately feels aimless while you watch it. While there is an overarching narrative, it didn't follow too much lore from the ride it was based on, and despite Murphy's best comedic efforts, it currently sits at 14% critically on Rotten Tomatoes with a 31% audience score and a 5.1 out of 10 on IMDb. While films are subjective and there is a base that loves this movie, overall the record shows that, generally speaking, people did not enjoy it. And at this point, we're going to discuss our own thoughts on why we think that is.
Yeah, so I think with the 2003 Eddie Murphy film, there were several things that sort of went on there. I think that also, we mentioned previously about Pirates coming out in that summer, and I don't know if it's necessarily fair to compare the two, just because that movie had Jerry Bruckheimer behind it. And the Haunted Mansion clearly didn't receive the same level of attention that film did. But even just as a film, it still had some weird beats based, like, as a film based on the ride. So you have some of the iconic things there. Like, you have Madame Leota, you have the talking statue heads, you have just the set piece in general, I guess, the mansion itself, spirits, that's all those sorts of things. The hitchhiking ghosts are in there, like, they kind of do some clever stuff with them. But overall, like, the film kind of just revolves around Eddie Murphy as a realtor. He gets, and his wife actually gets invited to go look at this house because she's also a real estate agent, and he's focusing real hard on, wanting to sell this house because it's a mansion and it would be a big payday, whatever. Well, in reality, the people that said that the house is for sale are actually ghosts, and the whole point is that the master of the house lost his bride way back when, and Eddie Murphy's wife is apparently the reincarnation of her, and the film basically revolves around the two of them getting split up, Eddie Murphy and his wife, and she just sort of rolls with it, with the ghost. She doesn't know he's a ghost until, towards the end of the movie. Eddie Murphy finds out in the middle, obviously. It's kind of like one of the bigger plot points is he doesn't believe in ghosts, and then all this stuff starts to happen, and then he, flips it on its head, like, pretty fast. But all that to say, I think that the film just misses the point of the ride overall, and it's weird because Berenbaum, the guy that wrote the film, like, also wrote Elf, which came out that same year as well, and Elf was such a hit, and, like, it's a film that I personally love. I watch it probably multiple times every year at Christmas time, and it's just a fun watch. I love Jon Favreau. It's one of his earlier directing films, like one of the earlier films that he directed, and just the level of attention that the characters in that film get versus the ones in Haunted Mansion, it's pretty jarring. I mean, when you're like comparing and contrasting, and who knows? Like, it could have been a Disney thing, it could have been a time thing. I don't know, but the reality is that film, even then, wasn't received super critically well. Yeah, I don't know, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too.
Yeah, this one is so disjointed. It's all over the place. Recently I just compared the two trailers for this version and for the new film, and we've come a long way in 20 years. I can tell you that with the 2003 film with Eddie Murphy's Haunted Mansion, I saw that trailer and I have no idea what that's about. I can only tell you that I know that it's a haunted mansion because A, they tell you it's haunted mansion, and I know what it's about because I've gone on the ride. But with this new film coming out, they pretty much lay out the premise, which is what you want when you go into a film. And I already know from that trailer that they are holding true to the ride, which is exactly what Disney fans have been looking for. And I'm pretty excited for that. And that is something that looking back now, is something that I was disappointed in with the original film. They could have done so much more. There were so many details that they could have taken from the ride and brought it into that film. And yeah, they brought in some things. They brought in, like, they have Master Gracie, they have Madame Leota, they have the statues that, like, their heads turn with you as you're moving by. But that's really it. And for people who love the ride and know the story and pay attention to the details as you go through, there's so much rich stuff, you know, in Disney World, in Disneyland. I don't understand why they didn't pull from that. And so, yeah, all that the 2003 film has for me now is nostalgia, just because I watched it growing up. And Eddie Murphy is fun, and anything that he's been in, so I'm looking forward to this new one. Also, we can't forget that the Muppets did a Haunted Mansion film.
You know what? That's interesting. I don't even think, tell me about that. I think maybe now that you mention it, I vaguely remember seeing like some poster artwork, something like that. But yeah, I don't remember. I've never actually seen that. I wish that I would have known that going into this, because I would have absolutely included it.
So I can't remember if it came out last year or if it was the year before.
Oh, recently.
Yeah, and it feels much more like a special, so it's not really a film. And it's not as narrative, but it's very much just the Muppets going through a haunted mansion. And it does pull some things from the ride, and in that sense, it is way better.
Yeah.
At paying homage to the lore and the work that the Imagineers put into the original attraction. And one thing that I do love about it is they have the Hatbox Ghost.
Dude.
Which was part of the opening day attraction in Disneyland, but they pulled it almost as soon as it opened because the technology just didn't work like they wanted it to. But Fozzie Bear is the Hatbox Ghost.
Really? That's pretty.
It's
that's
so
pretty fun.
good. But they have the ballroom scene, and they you follow Gonzo most of the time, if I'm remembering correctly. I'll have to go back and watch it again. It's been a while.
Yeah, that's a good
time.
I'll just go ahead and drop this here. If you're watching this, let us know in the comments if you've seen that one and what you think about it. I mean, let us know about any of them, what your thoughts are, or whatever. We'd love to hear from you too. But the Disneyland ride also, if I'm not mistaken, has a variant. I think, is it at Christmas time that they changed the theming to the Nightmare Before Christmas thing? I've never actually been to Disneyland, so I've just heard this, but if you've got any insight into that, I would love to hear kind of what your experience has been, if you've seen it that way or if you just know about it also. I don't know.
I have, yeah. So they change it for so it's the holiday season, but they also change it for Halloween because it's the Nightmare Before Christmas, and they call it the Haunted Mansion Holiday.
Cool.
And it's so good. And people are gonna, oh man, I'm gonna upset people with this. I do not love the Nightmare Before Christmas. I find it to be exceptionally boring.
Interesting.
If I had to choose an animated Tim Burton film, I would go with The Corpse Bride. But that being said, the attraction Haunted Mansion Holiday, the overlay is phenomenal. You wouldn't even know it was the same ride.
That's really cool.
Aside from a few like different areas where it's like, oh yeah, well, you know, the stretching room's one thing, and you know, when you're being pushed off of or out of the attic and down into the graveyard sequence, you know you're there, but it's just a whole different experience.
That's really cool.
And mind-blowing. It's so good. And yeah, The Nightmare Before Christmas, that the whole the theme of it, I mean, I do appreciate those characters and that story. It's just the movie that isn't for me.
Sure, I get that. Funny enough, I had actually never even seen The Nightmare Before Christmas until last year. My family and I planned a trip to Disney World, and we were going over the weekend of my birthday, which happens to be in October. So I had just seen a lot. I was watching some updated park videos and kind of different theming that was going on at the time, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. There's like Jack Skellington was kind of hosting the Mickey's Not So Scary thing, and I was like, oh, that's really, really interesting. I wonder, and it got me thinking kind of like I'd never actually watched that. And especially as, a film buff, like I had kind of no excuse, especially that being one of Burton's, earlier, if not his first. I don't want to make any assumptions just because I don't know off the top of my head if that was his first animated feature or not. But
I don't know either.
Yeah, I ended up watching it. I actually ended up watching it like several times, and I did really enjoy it a lot. And that's funny for me because I actually hate Tim Burton's stop motion stuff. Not for any like reason other than it weirded me out as a kid, I think, and I never latched onto it quite so much, which is also funny. Like,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, no, I get it. I mean, he is an acquired taste.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's not for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I love some of his things, and then other things are just like, no.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too much of a stretch, and my brain just can't live in that world. I just can't accept those ideas, which is odd for me as a filmmaker and somebody who lives in stories. I have to accept realities that don't exist. Yeah.
Yeah.
His sometimes are just too much.
Yeah. I don't disagree. There are definitely some of his that I love. Like, I mean, obviously, like I think both of his Batman films are great. And as someone who, I love superheroes, those two films will always be special to me. I grew up watching those, but I also grew up watching the Clooney Batman and the Val Kilmer Batman and all that stuff too. So but I do have an appreciation for Burton in that respect. And also, like, I think Sweeney Todd is fun. I have this weird thing where I don't like listening to musical soundtracks. Like, I don't like listening to them in my car or something, but I do like going to shows, and I actually do enjoy some film adaptations of musicals. So, and that's one of them that I actually do like.
Okay, so let's kind of switch gears and talk about the 2023 film coming out. Neither of us have seen it at this point, but I know we're both excited about it and all that it seems to include. I know I'm excited because it really seems like it's holding true to the ride on both coasts, but of course we haven't seen it. So what do you think is going to be included in this film?
Yeah, I mean it does. It looks like, I'll say this too. It looks like it looks like they're doing a blend better of the sort of campy with the scary stuff. I remember like the first trailer in particular, I was like, oh, this is like, they're going genuinely a little dark with this thing, which was cool. Like, that was cool to see. Just because Disney, I feel like, so we've talked about this extensively outside of filming things, but everything right now that's being released, especially by Disney, I would add, and this is coming from someone who loves Disney properties and loves their IP and all those sorts of things. We wouldn't be making these videos if we didn't. But everything feels very sterile to me. It just feels very safe. There's not much risk involved. I think that and I'm kind of like doing one of these the whole time, but it feels like maybe they are taking a few risks with this movie. And I'll be real, like, I don't know that you get someone, or I mean kind of the whole cast, like Rosario Dawson, she's fantastic, but she has been attached to Disney stuff recently, just like by playing Ahsoka in Star Wars and everything. So like she has some attachment there. Jamie Lee Curtis has some previous ties with like Freaky Friday, which I think was a Disney one, right?
Yeah, that
like,
was with Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah, which was forever ago too. But Owen Wilson, obviously, like, he's Lightning McQueen.
Ka-chow.
He's also Ka-chow. My son loves that car. And he's also Mobius in Loki, which is fun as of more recently. But I love that he's in it. But all that to say, someone like Danny DeVito is a weird choice, because like Danny DeVito hasn't been in too many Disney things, I guess, outside of like Hercules, way back in the day in the 90s. I can't think of any other projects that he's been tied to, over the course of the last 20 some odd years. And I could be wrong. They just may not be coming to mind as we're talking right now. But all that to say, like, I feel like his recent work, just specifically, I mean, it's not super recent, I guess, but like It's Always Sunny, like stuff like that, that he's kind of leaned more into. I don't know.
He did Matilda, but yeah.
Yeah. Was Matilda Disney?
I don't think that was Disney, but family.
I know what you mean. It kind of leans. Yeah. Sure. Which I guess does make sense. Like he's always had that side that he's able to play as well. Any good actor is able to kind of do whatever they want, I think. He's certainly no exception to that rule. But all that to say, I think that just given what we've been given with some of the more horror elements, like traditional horror elements in terms of approach with filmmaking, I saw a lot of those sort of, I'll call them tropes, but I don't mean that in like a bad way. And the at least the first trailer for the movie, I did recently see the last trailer, I think, this past weekend when I saw, I can't remember if it played before Oppenheimer or if it played before Barbie. I saw both of them the same day. It played before Barbie. Okay, yeah. So I did see that trailer, and I still thought it looked good. I did think that one, it lent itself more towards the whimsical, kind of comedy end of things. But it also, like, I don't know, it still had, like, I'm pretty sure I'm not mistaken on this. They have, like, the Doom buggies in the film, right? Like, I want to say that I saw that in the trailer. I could be wrong.
I don't know if I've noticed that. I've noticed other details like the endless hallway, and they have the wallpaper.
Yes.
And obviously like bigger things, but I'll have to go back and see if the Doom buggies are there, because that would be fun, and I'd like to see why they are there.
I think that this one was just made with way more care. At the end of the day, I think that's pretty evident
for sure.
So I'm excited. Like, and that's funny because like there have been very few, especially live action Disney movies that I've been excited to go watch recently. I go and see them because I go and see just about everything. And you know, it's not that like they all suck necessarily, like in all the like latest stuff or anything. Like that's not necessarily my opinion. However, a good chunk of them leave a lot to be desired, I think. So I'm holding out hope that maybe this is one of the ones that's going to be, you know, like I'm going to actually like really enjoy. So especially as a fan of the ride, like I think that it's going to be a good one. I'm excited. The cast alone has me, you know, really intrigued. Like I mentioned before, I think that even just
Jared Leto as the Hatbox Ghost.
Come on, dude. Jared Leto, bona fide cult leader as the Hatbox Ghost. Can't beat that. Sorry, Jared Leto, if you ever see this. Love you, dude. Saw you live, you know, forever ago. Back in 2013, whatever it was.
Right.
Love 30 Seconds to Mars still. Yeah, it's good.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh,
10 years
man.
ago.
Yeah, that hurts. There you go. But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts though?
Yeah. Well, the fact that they're including the Hatbox Ghost is a big deal, I think. Just because that was an opening day thing, but they pulled that, and then it didn't. He wasn't put back in the ride until 2015 on Disneyland's 60th. So, and we're actually getting the Hatbox Ghost in Disney World sometime this year. That's what we were told at D23 last year. So we'll see when that happens.
That's cool.
Originally, Guillermo del Toro was slated to direct this movie.
Whoa.
So he had like hands on this. I think the earliest I saw was in 2010. He was trying to develop this. So I don't know when he dropped that. I'm okay with it. I think it would have been cool to see what he would have done. Although sometimes his work just does not fully land. He has such a fantastic mind.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think he can be credited for keeping the Hatbox Ghost in the film because he wanted the Hatbox Ghost.
Yeah, that's cool.
In his version of it. I read that somewhere. So I think that's very interesting. And I wonder how much of an influence he had on this particular film in the script. And I'll be paying attention in the credits just to see if his name shows up anywhere, whether it's
as like a producer or whatever.
Right, producer, writing credit, if it's in like the special thanks, who knows?
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, that is cool. I had no idea. That's really neat.
Because that would have been a really unique film.
Oh man, shoot! Yeah, I love a lot of his stuff, and there's his like creature design alone, like that. That.
I think it would have been a little too much for a Disney film and for the ride. And you know this is something that Disney wants to be able to market to families, and they wouldn't have been able to do that with the Guillermo stuff.
But yeah, guys, this is probably a little different than your standard, you know, deep dives into one of these franchises, IPs, whatever you want to call it. That said, we're going to do some more stuff like this for sure. The goal right now, I think for us, at least for me, is to try and do at least one of these a month, because they are a little longer. They take a little longer to put together. But with that, you know, we'll see how it goes. If this is something that you guys really like and enjoy, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave comments. All those sorts of things help. I hate saying it. I watch so many videos and I'm like, my gosh, I wish that you guys would just shut up about all the things, but
they really do help.
They really do help, and it is a necessary evil, so to speak.
Don't say that.
But
not in the film world.
Yeah. But it's one of those things. It's one of those things. The notification bell as well. Like, just that way you're not missing stuff as we release things. Especially getting off the ground, they'll probably be a little more intermittent. But if it's something that we see is working and that people are enjoying, we're going to continue to do more of it. We'll do some shorter form content. We'll be able to branch out a little more in that respect. But we have a fondness for the two of us specifically, outside of our filmmaking journey. We have a general fondness for Disney in particular, but also just theme parks. Like we both also do enjoy Universal. We enjoy the IPs attached with both, but we sort of bonded over those sorts of things. And there's another person that's involved with this that's sort of behind the scenes. His name's Aaron. He lives in Orlando. He'll be on camera at some point. We'll get him involved in this aspect of things. But he's out getting B-roll and giving ideas and all those sorts of things. But we were all three part of the same cohort, which, if you think about like Harry Potter houses, ours was probably Hufflepuff.
That's so true.
That's sort of where we met and where our friendship began and those sorts of things. But we appreciate you giving this a like, and we appreciate you kind of just tuning in with us and joining us on what's sure to be a really fun journey and making these videos. And
and hopefully we'll be back with a review of the new film. We'll be able to give our full, I don't want to say critique, we'll be able to give our praises.
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna put that out there.
Praises, thoughts. I'll be the first to admit I'm the more critical one in the group for sure. It's my curse, whatever, whatever you want to call it. But that said, I generally try to lean towards looking at the positive in things. So yeah, that'll be our first shorter form video. We'll be looking at the new film, and yeah, we'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Yeah,
thanks for watching.